Last time on Noise, we talked about fear. The fear of being trapped with something that doesn't listen. A being that doesn't respond to reason, or pleading, or even language. But here's a question. Why are you in that place to begin with? What drives you to step into the cave? And more importantly, what does it cost to come out the other side? Because if you survive the monster, if you make it back from the darkness, the question becomes, who are you now? Today on Noise, the hero's journey. Chapter 1. The map of the journey and the first cave. Why does Odysseus leave home? Not for gold, not for glory. He leaves because of a call, a war far away, a duty bigger than himself. This, Joseph Campbell says, is the first step of every hero's journey, the call to adventure. You're pulled, often unwillingly, out of the ordinary world, the known world. And once you cross that threshold, once you step into the unknown world, there's no return, at least not as the same person. Odysseus, king of Ithaca, leaves behind his wife, his newborn son, and sets sail for Troy. He helps win the war, but his journey home takes 10 more years. And the reason it takes so long? He breaks a rule. He angers the gods. And the world, like any good myth, makes him pay. One of the darkest payments comes when he and his men wash up on a rocky shore on the island of the Cyclops. They find a cave full of food. No one's home. In a world where hospitality was sacred, they help themselves, hoping for kindness. But the cave belongs to Polyphemus, a Cyclops, a giant with one eye and no sense of hospitality. When Polyphemus returns, he traps the men and begins to eat them, one by one. Odysseus can't find him directly, so he offers the giant wine. He gets him drunk, and when Polyphemus asks his name, Odysseus replies, "Nobody." It's a trick, and it works. That night, Odysseus and his men blind the Cyclops with a sharpened stake. When he cries out, his neighbors ask who's hurting him. "Nobody," he screams. And so they leave. That cave is what Campbell calls the belly of the whale, a place of symbolic death and rebirth. It is not only a trap, but a tomb to be resurrected from. The hero is swallowed into darkness. Odysseus is no longer a king, no longer in control, no longer protected. He's reduced to nothing, and that's how he's able to get out. But as they escape, Odysseus does something tragic. He makes a human choice. As they sail away, victorious, he cannot resist one final moment of pride. He shouts his real name. "I am Odysseus, son of Laertes, king of Ithaca." Polyphemus hears it and prays to his father, Poseidon, to curse the man who blinded him. And so Odysseus' journey becomes one of endless storms, shipwrecks, loss, and delay. This is the road of trials, the series of tests that reveal a hero's flaws and force transformation. Odysseus survives the Cyclops, but he doesn't evolve, not yet. And that's why his journey drags on. Because until the hero changes, the road keeps winding. Chapter 2. The Deepest Water. In the cold north, another call, another sacrifice. This is the story of Beowulf. In Denmark, a great hall called Heorot is under siege. Every night a monster comes, a being named Grendel. He hates music, joy, togetherness, and so he kills. Beowulf, a warrior from across the sea, hears the call. This is his adventure. He sails to Heorot to face the beast, not for treasure, but to protect something human: light, laughter, community. Grendel comes. Beowulf fights him without weapons, just strength. He tears the monster's arm from its socket, and Grendel flees to die in the dark. But that's not the end. Grendel had a mother, and she is worse. She comes to avenge her son, kills again. Now Beowulf must dive into her underwater lair, a literal descent into the abyss, another belly of the whale. Water plays a fascinating role here. It's more than just a setting, as it is also in Odysseus' journey. It represents the womb of mother. To dive into it and come back out is to be born again. Grendel is the twisted, monstrous offspring, and Beowulf is his opposite twin. In essence, Beowulf and Grendel could be two sides of the same coin. There, time distorts, weapons fail. But there in the lair, he finds a sword made for giants, a gift of fate if you like, and slays her. This is the ordeal, the darkest part of the journey. He returns changed, and it gives that change to his people, peace and joy. Carl Jung would call this descent the confrontation with the shadow, the part of ourselves we repress. The monster isn't just Grendel, it's violence, hatred, isolation. It's all the parts of humanity we try to hide, and Beowulf faces it head on. But time moves forward. Beowulf grows old, and years later, he faces a dragon, alone. It's the final trial, the final transformation. And in killing the dragon, he dies, but the people live. This is the full arc, from call to sacrifice, the journey complete. Chapter 3: The Trickster and the Hero. Now, let's follow the road to the east, into the Shahnameh, the Persian Book of Kings. Here, the hero is Rostam, son of Zal, rider of the legendary horse Raksh, and the great protector of Iran. He's strong, yes, ferocious in battle. But this next trial, it is not about strength. It's about confusion, about trickery, about losing control. It's the story of Akvanediv. Akvanediv isn't your usual demon. He's not a snarling beast or a towering brute. He's something worse, a shapeshifter, a trickster. He can disappear and reappear at will. He can take the form of wind, water, human, animal. He's impossible to hold, impossible to understand. He is shadow. He doesn't fight fair. He doesn't charge with a sword or claws. No, he toys with you. He makes you question what you're seeing, what you're doing, even who you are. Rostam is sent to stop a destructive wild donkey that's destroying the royal herds. But the real villain is, as you can guess, Akvanediv. But the demon keeps vanishing. Every time Rostam strikes, Akvan vanishes into thin air. Every time he rests, the demon taunts him. And one day, while Rostam sleeps, Akvan approaches him and lifts him high into the sky. Akvan, in classic trickster fashion, asks a question. He says, "Shall I dash you against the mountains or throw you into the sea?" And here's the trap. Akvan will do the opposite of whatever Rostam answers. So Rostam, thinking fast, says, "Dash me against the mountains." And Akvan, true to his chaotic nature, hurls him into the sea. Here again, we have the element of water and its crucial role in the transformation of the hero. Rostam survives barely. He's bruised, broken, lost. His horse Raksh is gone, his armor shattered. No one knows where he is. But he doesn't give up. He pursues and finds Akvan again. This time, he's ready and into battle he goes. Here, Jung's concept of the shadow becomes essential. He believed that the monsters in our dreams and myths represent the dark part of ourselves, our instincts, anger, chaos, the parts we try to hide. The shadow isn't just something outside us, it's part of us, and the hero's job is to confront it, understand it, not attempt to destroy it mindlessly. The moment in the story where Akvan takes Rostam by surprise and lifts him up in the air is crucial to understanding the symbolic identity of the demon. Rostam is sleeping, and Akvan, like a shadow, creeps up to him. Akvan is a nightmare of the sleeping hero. He's the incarnation of our repressed self. When Akvan falls, it's not a triumph of strength, it's a triumph of resilience, of endurance, of refusing to let confusion win. Because that's what Akvan represents. He's not just a demon, he's doubt, his distortion, he's the voice that says, you don't know where you are, you don't know what's real. He's the storm inside your own mind. And beating him, it doesn't mean feeling strong. It means moving forward anyway. This confrontation and understanding of the deeper self is a recurring concept in many stories and myths. In the story of Theseus and the Minotaur, he is able to prevail only by understanding and learning the labyrinth. With the help of Ariadne, the king's daughter, he brings with him a sword and a simple thread. The sword symbolizes strength, and the thread, that's wit, that's knowledge. You need both to make it out of the labyrinth alive. Very similar to the depiction of old kings holding a scepter and a sphere. The scepter for authority and strength, the sphere for wisdom, balance, and cosmic order. He ties one end of the thread at the entrance and unwinds it as he goes. He finds the Minotaur, kills it with the sword, follows the thread back, and escapes. The labyrinth, as you can imagine, represents the complex maze of hero's mind. The Minotaur is the beast within us, and the thread is logic, reason, the line that leads back to meaning and order. Chapter 5. The Hero's Journey. Each story shares the same bones. 1. Call to adventure, refusal of the call, meeting the mentor, acceptance of the call. 2. Crossing the first threshold and stepping into the unknown. 3. Temptations and challenges with the help of a mentor. 4. Abyss, revelation, transformation. 5. Atonement. 6. Stepping back to the known world and return with the elixir. Here's a question for you. Can you follow these key stages in The Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, or even Jaws by Steven Spielberg? The belly of the whale is not just a place of fear. It's a place of undoing, annihilation. To face the monster and live, you must let go of who you were. But there's something else, something important. The older the story, the more clear-cut the roles are. The hero is good, the monster is evil, the binary is stark. Light against dark, human against beast, order against chaos. There's no ambiguity. The moral compass points in one direction. In ancient myths, the paradox is external, between the hero and the evil out there, between man and monster. There is no real question of the hero's inner world. He's brave, strong, and right. The monster is cruel, chaotic, and wrong. But over time, especially in modern storytelling, the binary starts to fade. The lines blur. In contemporary literature, the monster is sometimes inside the hero. In other words, the hero and the monster are one and the same. And sometimes the known world, the place that traditional hero once sought to save, becomes corrupt, unworthy, and beyond redemption. In Heinrich Böll's The Clown, the protagonist is not facing a beast in a cave. He's confronting his own alienation, his guilt, his society's hypocrisy, and his inability to act with clarity. There's no evil force, only moral paralysis. In Kafka's The Metamorphosis, Gregor Samsa becomes the monster and is feared, rejected, and erased by those who once lived for. There's no villain in that story. And in David Cronenberg's The Fly, we witness a tragic collapse. Scientist Seth Brundle, full of promise and ambition, merges with a fly after a teleportation experiment goes wrong. What follows isn't a fight against an enemy, but a slow, horrifying self-destruction. Brundle becomes the monster, not by choice, but as a consequence of his own desire to transcend limits. His fear, love, and pain remain painfully human, even as his body turns inhuman. These stories ask, what if what we become is not what we intended? What if the monster is simply us, pushed past the edge? And what if that particular journey isn't worth taking at all? The cave in these modern tales is no longer a physical space. It's internal. It's a state of mind, a psychological trap. Maybe the real shift is this. In old stories, the monster threatens the hero's life. In new ones, it threatens his meaning, his existence. And maybe that's why we still tell these stories over and over again. Because we are all still crawling out of something dark. And we are all still wondering what we had to leave behind to make it back. Next time you think about the monsters you faced, ask yourself this: what part of you didn't make it back? This is Noise, your occasional disturbance in the waves.